The cruelty embedded in Texas's SB 4 law is palpable, as it enforces harsh measures that not only target undocumented immigrants but also create an atmosphere of fear and distrust within communities. TEZOZOMOC, c. February 6, 2024. Introduction. In the vast expanse of Texas, a new chapter unfolds in the complex narrative of federal supremacy versus state nullification. Shaped by historical echoes of the southern states' defiance during the Civil War, Texas now finds itself attempting to self-regulate its border, introducing a paradox that reverberates through the foundations of the United States constitutional framework. At the center of this, the question arises, how does the Lone Star State reconcile state-driven immigration policies with the federal supremacy established by the U.S. Constitution? Southern echoes and Texas's border quest. The concept of state nullification, rooted in the pre-Civil War South's resistance to federal authority, has found new life in contemporary Texas. The state's attempts to assert control over its border bring forth echoes of the antebellum, a bygone era, raising questions about the balance of power between states and the federal government. To comprehend this paradox, insight into the historical context and its manifestations in the present. Right to resistance, migrants and the constitutional quandary. Amid the border debates, it is crucial to recognize that the masses of migrants are not state-directed partisans, nor is Mexico at war with the United States. The complex reality of migration challenges traditional notions of statehood and necessitates a nuanced understanding of the constitutional rights afforded to individuals. As Texas grapples with self-regulating the border, the constitutional right to resistance becomes a focal point, calling into question the treatment of migrants within the framework of U.S. law. Confusing alien migrants with enemy combatants poses a significant challenge for states attempting nullification against the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution. The constitutional framework, particularly the Supremacy Clause, Article V, Clause 2, establishes federal laws and treaties as the supreme law of the land, overriding state laws and actions. Treating migrants as enemy combatants contradicts this framework, as it invokes legal mechanisms designed for armed conflicts and military engagements. The absence of a declared war and the fact that migrants are civilians seeking refuge rather than participants in hostilities challenge the classification of migrants as combatants under traditional legal paradigms. 1. This legal conundrum raises questions about the constitutionality of states attempting to unilaterally enforce immigration policies using frameworks meant for war scenarios. Understanding of constitutional principles is crucial to avoid undermining the foundational structure that balances federal and state authority. Migrants' rights and the absence of enemy combatants. Under the right to resistance, migrants possess their own set of rights, challenging the narrative that they can be treated as enemy combatants. Unlike traditional war scenarios, where combatants are clearly defined, migrants do not constitute a military force. Consequently, the legal ramifications of treating them as such, as witnessed in events like Guantanamo Bay under the Patriot Act, must be critically examined. Migrants, driven by desperation and seeking a better life, fall outside the scope of traditional warfare paradigms, demanding a re-evaluation of their legal standing. Waterboarding from a wheelchair. The irony embedded in the history of waterboarding enemy combatants in Iraq takes a haunting twist when juxtaposed with the contemporary actions along the Rio Grande imposed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The inhumane practice of waterboarding, condemned as torture, was once wielded as a tool of interrogation in the name of national security too. Fast forward to the present, and the obstacles strategically placed in the Rio Grande under Abbott's authority, ostensibly to control the border, evoke a different form of water-related torment. De facto waterboarding, the unintentional yet cruel consequence of treacherous river crossings, becomes a haunting parallel. As desperate migrants, akin to detainees in Iraq, face the perilous journey across the river, they encounter a de jure obstacle imposed by Abbott's policies. 3. The irony lies in the contrast between international condemnation of waterboarding as a violation of human rights and the tacit approval of policies that create similar perilous conditions along the Rio Grande. This stark irony underscores the urgency of addressing migration challenges with humanity and compassion rather than replicating the cruelties condemned on a global stage. The river's cruel embrace, the natural border enforcer. While the state wrestles with the paradox of border control, the harsh reality of the Rio Grande becomes a poignant symbol. The river, acting as an unforgiving force, challenges the notion of enforcing borders through punitive measures. The desperate attempts of migrants, often resulting in tragic outcomes, underscore the futility of relying solely on harsh policies without addressing the root causes of migration. Conclusion: navigating the constitutional waters. As Texas charts its course in navigating the constitutional waters of federal supremacy and state nullification, it confronts a paradox that echoes historical struggles. The attempt to self-regulate the border, while constitutionally complex, must grapple with the rights of migrants, the absence of war, and the natural border enforcer, the Rio Grande. To reconcile this paradox, Texas and the nation must forge a path that respects the constitutional framework while acknowledging the evolving complexities of migration and human rights.